Well, hello, folks. I'm Cuz Strickland. Welcome to the Wildlife Ridge Outdoors Podcast, brought to you by Mossy Properties, Hart, Realty. We specialize in selling farms, land, recreational hunting, and residential properties right here in the great state of Kentucky. Whether you're a seasoned hunter or new to the great outdoors, this podcast is your go-to resource. We'll dive deep into everything from land and farm management to conservation, hunting tips, and don't worry, there'll be plenty of hunting stories along the way. If you're passionate about the outdoors, you're in the right place. Our goal here is to help each of you live your best life outdoors.
Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Wildlife Ridge Podcast, brought to you by Mossy Oak Properties, Hart, Realty. Today, we're going to cover several topics, but it's one of the sports that we all love and is near and dear to our heart, turkey season. And I had a guest in mind to come on today that I thought would be able to help each and every one of us understand a lot of things that's going on, not only in the turkey woods, but with products, gear, optics, and ammo that's out there. I consider this a close friend of mine, very knowledgeable. So I'd like to welcome to the podcast Scott Cronin. How you doing, Scott?
Oh, I'm doing this fine. This is some perfect springtime weather, and we're just a few days away from Kentucky turkey season opening, and you got Tennessee and Indiana and several other states down south that have already opened up, and folks are having really good luck with the above average temperatures, and our youth hunters are even closer than we are as far as getting out there and listening to you talk about the gear and everything. It's just that time of year that if you are any type of turkey hunter, a new one, an experienced one, or an aging one, if you're not excited, then something's wrong with you. You probably need to go to the doctor.
Oh, I hear you on that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You and me got a turkey hunt coming up here soon in Indiana at several undisclosed locations. We'll just keep it like that, but looking forward to that. Looking forward to the Kentucky season as well. I've not had the best of luck here in Kentucky lately, but hopefully this year we'll get to knock a few heads around and have a little bit more success. So where all you planning on going hunting this year?
As far as scheduled hunts go, everything will really get started off on a serious note with the Kentucky youth season, taking my daughter out and some other youth. Then I'll be starting to go into Illinois and hunting with a really good friend of mine, Jim Dawson and Dave Berry. When we get back from that trip, Tennessee will be coming in that following weekend as far as their regular season. Tennessee's going to open the weekend before the Kentucky opener this year. And then, of course, I'll jump right into Kentucky season, and then we'll bounce over to Indiana. And from that point forward, we'll just see what the weather's doing. We'll see what's going on as far as how birds are acting and reports that are coming in and scouting. And then we'll look at budgets, of course, and get moving around and traveling. And then once school gets out from the regular session in late May, because of some of this crazy weather we had this past couple months, definitely be going up through the Northeast this year and knocking out several states and trying to get up that way and see some friends I haven't seen in a long time and capitalize on what hopes to be good continuing news, and that is a little bit of a turkey rebound in some of those areas. I know where I live at, turkey numbers are still pretty low, and it's almost very questionable now on what exactly is going on, but I'm glad to hear and see in other areas and sections of the state and other states in the United States that the turkey population is healthy and good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to here too. I just got on my camera the other day, and this is the first one I've ever caught on camera. A pretty decent size beard on a hen. I've never seen a beard this big on a hen before, so I'm really curious if I'll be able to get my eyeballs on it this turkey season. But like I said, I've never seen a beard this big on a hen before, so it's going to be interesting to see. The farm I hunt on, for whatever reason, it's just really never had a large population of longbeards on it. You might occasionally see one or two, but in the 16 years or so that I've owned a farm, it's just been mainly hens, maybe occasionally a Jake, and I don't know why, how come, or what the reason is for it. It's improved a little bit with some of the habitat work and different things that I've done on it, but it's gotten better. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So hopefully it'll go good. But so
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what draws you to turkeys. Why turkeys? Why the passion for the turkeys that you have?
Man, I've been drawn to turkeys for a long time now. I hate to even reflect on it sometimes because it lets me know that I'm beginning to age, and I kind of feel like I liked myself a little bit better when I was a new turkey hunter because didn't have as much silver in my beard and I had a little bit more hair on top of my head. But I got started turkey hunting off of Martin Ferry Road in Grayson County, Kentucky, on a farm that my uncle owned and my grandfather owned. There was some turkeys in and around the area, and a gentleman by the name of Mike Vogt was very kind when I was a young high school kid to take me out and stand me on a big hardwood ridge and let me hear a turkey gobble from the roost for the first time. And honestly, from that moment forward, my passion to understand turkeys and to hunt turkeys has gotten stronger each and every day. And I guess what brings me to like turkey hunting so much is not just hunting the back 40. It's the fact that I've been able to travel the country. I've been able to meet different people. I've got to see national monuments and sections of land that I don't think I would have ever taken the time to see and visit just by exploring or going on a vacation. And as you work through the process of going from one state to the next, I think it's important that everybody realizes and understands that about every state that has a huntable turkey population has some type of trick or trade as far as where you can get in and get into a little bit better area, or sometimes a overlook or a specialty type hunt. Like some of your military bases may have a program in place where you can hunt on those properties, and you can use multiple license from other states because maybe those properties are going in and out of multiple states, and they'll honor anyone's hunt license as long as it's legal from one of the states that it's in. Or there'll be some advantages of quota hunts where you can get in and do some hunting where there is a limited number of people on public land, and you don't have to worry about as much traffic opening day. But always being able to adjust to the different species of turkeys and tweak a little bit on your gear and fine tune it, working on your calling, all of those things too just continue. There's never a year where I would say everything is perfected, and the constant drive to improve and the ability to make yourself better at a sport that you do and chasing and pursuing something is it's just an addiction, and that addiction is part of being a turkey hunter. And I know myself and others, it's something that we can all admit to, and that's one of the big things in life is sometimes you got to admit that you got a problem. And my problem is I like chasing turkeys, and I don't get burnt out on it. So each year it just seems to grow more and more and more and more. And I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm just a couple of years away from retirement. And I hope to really get out there and spend the entire spring, my first year being retired, chasing it every single day instead of just being a diehard from start to finish.
Yeah, I understand that. I think I've asked you this before, but I don't remember. Have you done the 49, or is that something you have a desire to do?
I do have a desire to eventually accomplish the 49. I am upwards in the 30s. I've never sat down and counted it all out. I know that Hawaii will be a big one to do, and I've got a few friends that have accomplished that in the last year or two, and I'll probably pick their brains on it. But so my main thing is is not to be in a rush to do it. I'm not trying to go out and knock them all out as fast as I can. I'm hoping that I'm blessed with a long and normal life, and that I can kind of soak that in, and actually hope to travel with my daughter and my wife some as she gets a little bit older, and she'll have some breaks in school to where we can go. And besides chasing that 49, I've got a big interest in going over to New Zealand and hunt with my buddy Dink Watson over there, and starting a turkey hunt a little bit in August and see how they're growing that sport in New Zealand. So there's no doubt about it that I'm a whole lot closer to 49 than I was a few years ago. But I've not set a date yet, but I am knocking a few out this spring that I haven't been to yet. And I'll continue to work on that, and it'll be a special day when all 49 get hit. But we're down to less than a dozen, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I did a podcast earlier where we had Billy Barnett. He was on with me and Cameron, and he had completed the 49 and was more than halfway through doing his second one, and that was his goal to be able to say he got it twice. So it's I don't know that I'm that dedicated enough to go out and do that. I think it would be awesome to do, but I have passion for turkey hunting, but I don't know if I'm just that driven, to hit all 49. But you never know. Things can change. Things can happen, right?
Yeah, and one of the mistakes that I made probably with that whole quest of going after 49 is I was turkey hunting a lot of different places before 49 was even being talked about. And when you go into certain states or certain parts of states, certain times of the year, man, it's so enjoyable, and you want to go back year after year. It's no different than a certain time of year to catch fish, or a certain time of year to chase whitetails or kill ducks. There's a draw to it, and I fell into a trap, and I'll continue to get trapped in my own mess there. But there's just certain parts that the aesthetics of the landscape and the people that are in the areas you're going to go back year after year. And one of those states is Tennessee and Nebraska. I've spent quite a bit of time there, and Texas is always fun. There's always great food and a lot of game, it seems like. And I've traveled to the point where whether you're out, trapping hogs or harvesting hogs with a firearm or axis deer, I've kind of added a few of those things along the way, and that's been fun to figure out how you can kind of make a combo hunt out of these turkeys in certain areas and regions that have more game in season than just the old turkey bird.
Yeah, I hear you. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the turkey and all the things we need related. But one of the questions I would have for you, has it has everybody come to a definitive answer, or does it seem like we're kind of narrowing the information down to kind of explain some of the issues where there's been some turkey declined in the area or region or state to state?
The major thing that I can definitely state to this is that when folks have done habitat improvement projects, they have seen good returns of not just turkeys, but other games for their efforts. So, number one, folks need to realize that if they're willing to get out and understand how they can change and put succession into their wildlife habitat management program and learn how they can use fire, whether it's a prescribed burn in the timber or maybe in some of their open field areas, letting natives come back, allowing that good nesting habitat and cover along with trapping, and trying to let these game animals have a little bit less disturbance than maybe years past. Maybe it could be how the animals are being maybe pestered or bothered with access in and out of a property. Maybe it's giving them a little bit more edge to get in and out of cover very quickly. But there's been a very satisfying and instant gratification to the folks that have gone the extra mile and set those traps or burned some of their property in order to see an increase in the amount of turkeys that are there. And of course, the cicadas have done really well and just got done coming off of, that being a positive influence as far as the bug population in the wild turkey's diet and along with a lot of other critters. But we should start seeing, we got down there for a while. I know in the state of Kentucky, they always use the number two when a hen's producing two poults or less, and we're kind of getting to a point where we're not at a sustainable turkey population. I do believe that a lot more folks are starting to come to some common sense with agricultural practices, and that is that we're not anti-ag, but we are starting to see and realize that some of our GMOs and our pesticide usage is definitely been a negative impact on the amount of invertebrates, insects, bugs on the diet for the turkey, and that's had some negative consequence. But the studies and the research coming back, everybody talking about the chicken litter, the avian flu, avian influenza, and avian pox, all of those things. There's not been any like major haha moment where we realized that, hey, this was the major or the number one factor. But the one thing that we can just sum up on is that when folks take the time to increase the habitat quality on private and public lands, they've got more turkeys to chase the following year.
Yeah, and I'm on the state board of the NWTF here in Kentucky, and I know we've partnered a lot with Fish and Wildlife and other organizations to do studies and to do habitat work on national forest and other public hunting grounds to improve habitat. And I think they've seen a positive response to that after all the habitat work got done for sure. So let's
Well,
go ahead.
there's no doubt about it. There's if you're willing to make a turkey's home a better place to live, there's going to be more turkeys to follow that turkey to come. So don't turn your nose up to a little bit of hard work, and don't be afraid to admit that you don't know how to do something. If you need to learn how to burn, or you need to get a little bit of advice on best management practices or habitat improvement, reach out to the folks at your local department or your DNR, USDA office, extension agents, whoever it is. There's a tremendous amount of resources out there that will help you with succession and trapping and all of those things that are the basic pillars, in my opinion, to helping bring turkey populations back to better numbers.
So if there was like one or two things, you and me go buy a farm, you know, and we're really wanting to improve it, what's the maybe one or two things that you think would be the best time, effort, and money spent on improving on your property?
Number one thing is I'm gonna walk the property and I'm gonna see what habitat is there. Of course, I would do that before we bought it. Then I would actually try to shake hands with my neighbors, and I would start making my property a little bit bigger. And that's not necessarily a common answer that you're going to get from a lot of folks, but I want to see who my neighbors are. I want to get to meet my neighbors, and I want to see if they have a common goal that I do, because that's going to be really important, because it's obvious that that's going to be the transition area from my farm or our farm to their farm. And maybe there's some things that we can put in place. And the other part about that is too, even if your neighbor is not necessarily going to have the same objectives and goals, fire on your property is going to be very important once you do your habitat evaluation. If you do need to burn and you do need to start looking at having that successional change to your property and what vegetation is there, your neighbors need to be aware and informed that you're educated and you know how to burn, and you can tell them when you're going to burn and the benefits and why you're doing it. From that point forward, it's so important, especially in the state of Kentucky. Not every farm is the same, but it's really important that we manage our timber. We really want to look at that understory and canopy. We want to make sure that we're getting some economic return and gains from our timber management, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we've got plenty of groceries and plenty of cover with our game that we're trying to keep and get more of. And then finalizing that out. If you don't trap yourself, then you need to figure out who is around the area that's trustworthy that can come in and out of your farm and do some things in order to get that trapping in place. And once all those things get into place, Paul, then you can really start fine tuning if you want to do something like even more specialized. But that that woolly edge, diversity of habitat and looking at cover, when you can take square footage or acres and you can turn it into cover and food at the same time and space, and you're starting to consider water, and you're looking at every part of what's on your neighboring properties or what's bordering you or surrounding you, whether that's agricultural practices or the possibilities of poaching, even just the fact of the matter that maybe there's a roadway or there's some type of interference there through the farm that could create a headache, then you can start to manage and go around it. Unfortunately, most people think that being in wildlife management means that you purchase a trail camera and put out a feeder and you broadcast some corn during deer season, and that's definitely something that can aid a hunter and putting game in front of them if it's legal on the whitetail deer side. But that doesn't need to be the only extent of what you consider habitat wildlife management.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things I've always tried to do on my place is I've got 7 areas for food plots, and I tried to make sure I got a blend that both benefits the turkey and the deer at the same time. And then I did some timber stand improvement on mine, which it accomplished its goal, brought down some stuff, created a nicer, thicker understory, and done stuff like that. Give animals a place to hide, to nest, and to sit down and take a nap if they needed to. And I made sure I had water in strategic locations. I'm fortunate that I've got a lot of springs and creeks on mine, so water's never been an issue. But I want them to have the place to be able to relax, bed, hide, feed, and feel comfortable and feel like they're not pressured. Is kind of how I worked on my farm to try to make it the best that I could in that area.
No doubt. And I'll close on this note. Anytime that you start managing your property for just a specific species, it can definitely be done. Deer, waterfowl, turkey, whatever it is. But try to be very open minded and look at the entire picture, the big picture of short term, mid-term, and long-term goes for multiple species of wildlife. And that's your plant and your mammals, different avian creatures, all of those things. And make sure that as you work through these things that you realize and understand that your budget can come into positive green. It doesn't always have to be into the red. If you're going to do some agricultural practices or if you're going to cut your timber and put forestry management into place, a farm does not have to be just an expense. And with your background and what you do, the value of ground and the use of ground in Kentucky and surrounding states and across the United States is just not for production agriculture. It's outdoor recreational property, and it's inspiring, and it's a very good thing that we have so many people that are wanting to buy and purchase land so that they can farm for wildlife. And it's a great thing, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. So let's get down into the nuts and bolts of everything. Let's just start from a beginner, maybe an intermediate type hunter. If you're going to recommend certain gear to have, what's your 1 or 2 must haves to go in the turkey woods?
Well, I think that most people are going to think that it's going to be your shell or your decoy or maybe your camo or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, I think some of the most important gear that you can have to go into the turkey woods is gear that God gave you, and that's your feet. You need to cover a bunch of ground and use your legs and stop. You don't, at times you may move faster than others. Use your eyes to look for your scratchings and let Mother Nature talk to you, start developing that woodsmanship, and then use your ears with your scouting and see where your birds are at and which directions they're going. So don't forget your body and what God gave you has got a lot of things there, and listen to your gut. Listen to what your natural body, your instinct is telling you, whether it's to push a little farther or to back off a little bit or maybe to look a little bit more, and go into it with your brain, working with some common sense. And when you put all that together, you are, the dominant predator. I mean, you are able to put what you've got as far as your anatomy together to be a human being, and then you can start to tweak your camouflage, and then you can start to figure out what you want to do with your boots and all of that. But more importantly, part of the gear that you really need, um, when it comes to buying things right now, is folks really need to pay attention and go and look at some of the data that's going on with tick-borne illness. They need to buy some Sawyer's permethrin. Uh, they need to treat their clothing with it. They need to take the time to get their gear ready so they don't end up with some type of vector-borne disease. Learn how to treat your skin with Picardian, and then when you start putting yourself together as a turkey hunter and you start at the bottom, start with your feet, there's going to be days that you're going to need snake boots in certain areas. There's going to be days that you need rubber boots. There's going to be days that you need lace-up boots. There's going to be days that you need gaiters, and some days you're going to hunt in more or less some type of trail running hybrid tennis shoe, and be diverse and know your terrain, and know that it's not just your terrain that can change your footwear. It can also be weather conditions, and keep that environment of your feet clean and healthy. Use some type of antidepressant, as far as, maybe, for example, you may sprinkle around your feet with some Gold Bond to keep your sweat down. And you can take and invest in a pair of good wool socks, and understand how wool socks that have a little bit of uh, cushion and padding and a little bit more pressure to help with circulation through your feet and up through your calves can help with your blood flow. And then working up to your pants, if you think about how you're turkey hunting as a new person or an experienced hunter, think about how many times you're down on your knees as far as looking for sign, or maybe you're taking cover and just peeking up. I really like gear that has knee pads in the pants. I like pants now that have the ventilation system to where I can dump my heat as quickly as possible. I enjoy the fact that several garments now have types of material where I can walk through taller grass, and there may be parts of the pant that are not waterproof and parts of the pant that are, and that could be, on the rear area where you're going to sit down, or some of the frontal area where you're going to walk through that taller grass or that vegetation early in the morning that can get you wet. And then as far as your tops go, you want to be ventilated to where you can dump heat as well. That's why a quarter zip and a jacket and all those things, you can shed your layers and come in and out. And of course, I'm always going to top myself off with, a North Mountain Gear Leafy Wear top. I do believe that over the years, and in 20 plus years, I think there's situations where that dimensional type camouflage has allowed me to get away with things and allowed me to harvest turkeys. And then we get into the old turkey vest, and I can't say that everything is perfect about any particular vest I've ever ran, but I have, and it's not to do any type of product promotion or anything. I do believe that we have some of the best turkey vests available that we've ever had right now. And a lot of folks are even going to a chest pack or a hybrid style way of hunting, where they can keep their binoculars and their calls up higher. And then they've got some type of seat below them. I think it's important for folks to find vests that fit them. Myself, I use a vest that I use every day, and then I've got another vest that I build specifically just for really rainy days with my strikers and the types of calls that I keep in there. And then I utilize a chair a lot more. Patience kills a lot of turkeys. It's important for people to use these ground type chairs like Alps puts out and other people. I know that it just about any Walmart you can get like a Mossy Oaks. It used to be the old turkey thug chair. I'm not sure what they call them now, but that allows you to sit a little bit longer. And of course, use a blind. Don't be afraid to get in a blind and stay a little bit longer. I know a lot of people don't really uh, give a blind any type of respect or credit, but I utilize them a lot for kids. I utilize them a lot myself, especially with rainy conditions to scout with. I do believe that when you can watch birds and you can scout birds, there's nothing wrong. A lot of times people will call it deer hunting turkeys. But, you got to face it. Some people don't have 900 acres to hunt. Some people aren't going to go to public lands. Some people don't have the legs and the physical conditions that they need to get out there. So pay attention to your blind and all that. And then when you get into your shotgun, I'm 255 pounds, and I'm going to the gym 2 to 3 days a week, and I'm not doing that to be some strong big bad guy. I'm doing that just to keep longevity on my life and keep myself healthy. And I throw those numbers out there because at 6'1" and 255 pounds, I don't like shooting a 12 gauge very much anymore. I've got some and I still use them. And I've got some new ammo I've been prototyping and testing and running different chokes, and they're phenomenal as far as what they do. But let your guard down a little bit. Pack a 28 gauge, pack a 410. I was using a 20 gauge forever. And then my daughter, I bought her a 28 gauge, and then we did the 410 thing, and the recoil was nothing at all. The patterns were phenomenal. You've walked behind me and with me. I move pretty fast and a lot of terrain, a lot of spots, and I'm up early and I stay out late. And if I can shed 5 or 6 pounds off of my setup, then I'm going to do it. And if you have a gun that's not shooting point of aim, point of impact, you definitely need to start looking at your optics. You need to start looking at your chokes. You need to start looking at whether you're going to shoot lead or TSS, and your calls, condition them. I mean, there's so many different things that we can talk about, and then we can talk about all those little pockets that you got on your britches and your turkey vest with a pair of pruners to get the trees out of the way, or maybe roll up a piece of army netting to make yourself a little bit of cover if you need it. And then the other thing is going back to that anatomy, just to kind of bring it full circle, and I'll let you pick my brain some more, but use your hand and your eyeballs and walk up to a landowner and shake their hand and introduce yourself to them and capitalize on some of the different apps that are out there. I don't care if you use OnX or if you use something else, but use technology. Don't overly use it, but use technology to put yourself in a position to where you don't run out of places to hunt. Scout public ground, scout private ground, shake hands, introduce yourself to people, make yourself, decent in appearance, carry yourself as a good, strong person and character, represent all of us in the hunting and the fishing community as leaders, and get out there and network with people, because you're going to lose farms. People are going to pass away. People are going to get divorces. Different people are going to take over the leases of a farm. And all those things are gear. All those things are getting the new hunter ready, Paul, the average hunter, and some of the most elite hunters. That's something that we could talk about for hours. So I'll see what that fired up on you, just running there for a little bit.
Well, like for me, I've been changing a little bit how I set up myself. I've kind of went to one of those little smaller frontal packs that I can have just the basic gear in it that I need. And then I had bought one of the little bog chairs, that kind of low setting chairs. and that allows me to be comfortable. It allows me to be able to get through with less weight. You know, in my case, you know, I had a little bit of a heart issue coming up, so I've got to watch a little bit more going up and down the hills and how I go. So just like what you said, shaving weight off, making myself more comfortable makes it a lot easier for me to hunt, number one, but two, I feel more confident that I have the ability to be successful in the woods. And that's one of the things that I've had to adjust, and it's been important to me. But you talked
Yeah, and
about, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things too to shave weight is if you've not made yourself familiar with like inline filters, or you need to start off with some type of water on you, safe drinking water. But um, keeping food and snacks, keeping your body hydrated, keeping your nutrient levels up while you're out there hunting. A lot of times your belly may get growling. Learn how to pack those high protein snacks in your vest to allow you to stay fueled. Keep some carbohydrates there in your pack or your rig, and in your water. Utilize some type of product. I mean, I like all the Sawyer's water filtration products, but man, you can just take and drink water out of the creek, out of the stream. It's very enjoyable to do that. It's very refreshing. A lot of kids like to do it. They think it's neat. But filter your water, keep your weight down, do all those things, but adapt, and realize too that after all of these seasons, there is going to be that one call that you really like, or there's going to be that one striker that you really like, and there's going to be some gear that may be in this brand or that brand camo, or even if you've got a particular call or some type of product that's not made anymore, you may take a little extra care of it because if you break it or if you lose it, you can't get it replaced. But just absolutely evaluate your gear, go through it. Don't wait till opening evening or the week before season and start getting your gear out and getting it prepped and ready, because it's very important that you've got good organization, and it's very important that you have everything you need, because the weather conditions and the birds are going to change from day to day.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It's talking about guns and optics. You know, I've got a unique situation, and you and me and Greg from Meadow Creek Mounts, we was working with stuff with. I've had to switch from left-handed to right-handed, so I've been going through a process to get myself better prepared to where I can be more accurate and successful. And I done exactly what you was talking about before, going from that 12 gauge harder kicking gun down to where I've got now the 28 gauge and the 410 to reduce that recoil for me with shooting basically opposite hand to be than what I'm used to. And with my eyesight, to me, that's going to be a big deal. I'll feel more confident when I pull the trigger that, I ain't going to get my head knocked off for different reasons. But what are you seeing gun wise? What's I know the new trends kind of been seeming to go to the 20, 28 gauge 410, but what are you seeing?
I'm seeing right now where the trend is with TSS prices being what they are, that uh, things are slowing down a little bit. TSS has gotten extremely high, and we'll get into some alternatives. I hunted with lead for years, still do. But I'm seeing where folks are kind of looking at the price of ammo. That the 20 gauge was really popular just because of the availability of lead and non-toxic shot that's out there. It's just a more common gauge, right? Anytime you get into that 16 gauge or the 28 gauge, you're going to get into some ammo cost issues and availability. The 410 has run its course. I'm not going to say that it's going backwards. I think it's kind of hit its plateau. I do believe that it's kind of steadied out. I think folks really like it. I do believe that it is definitely, hands down, without a doubt, something that's going to be in every turkey hunter's gun safe once they become a parent. I don't think there's any questions now on whether or not the 410 is going to keep and earn its place in the turkey hunting world. But My overall thought process on this, and I was just helping a friend of mine the other day. He's on the fence about buying one. Tommy Taylor, you know him, over towards Lexington. The 28 gauge. What it does, if you study anything at all on the 28 gauge, you have this perfect harmonic blend of the barrel size and the shells and what it does. And when you look at, and I had somebody ask me the other day, like, well, you think it's got enough knockdown power to get one at 40 yards? And I'm thinking, well, absolutely, because that turkey doesn't know if that pellet is traveling 1,200 feet a second or 1,000 feet a second out of a 20 gauge or a 12 gauge. And a lot of these 28 gauge loads and 2 3/4 and 3 inch, they're carrying the same amount of payload in a lot of the 20 gauge shells. And what I've noticed, unfortunately, there is a little bit of a trend in pellet counters with TSS, and I wish that would go away, because so many of these guns shoot so much better with some of what we would consider the reduced or the lower amounts of shot. When I'm getting an ounce and a quarter, ounce and a half, ounce and 3/8, those things, you don't have to have a 2 ounce payload to throw down range at these turkeys. And folks are really starting to realize and understand that when your components of your shell get there and you start working with your chokes, that 1,100 feet per second or 1,200 feet per second or whatever it is, it does make a big difference. The availability of a lot of these chokes makes a big difference. And folks are kind of overlooking their factory chokes. They're overlooking lead. They're overlooking a lot of different things. And I think what's going to happen is, I think this lead movement is going to come back a little bit just on this reason alone. I've spent the last 3 weeks on a gun range at some point in time, 2 to 3 days out of the week. And I'm doing product development and research with gun manufacturers and chokes and ammo. And then I'm using tried and true loads, always going back and comparing. But when you go to the gun range, and let's say that you have an optic that gets knocked off, or say you have something that comes loose or whatever, if you have to shoot 2 boxes of TSS, okay, you're looking at 10 shells. That could be running people anywhere from $150 to over $200. I don't think the average working person is going to deal with that very well. And I look for folks to really go back and continue to use some of that lead load. The sub gauges are definitely really being utilized with the TSS. And I think folks are going to stop playing around so much with ammo. And we can't let the cat out of the bag, but me and you'll be together in August in a location, and you'll really get to see this firsthand and what we're going to get to do with 20 elite individuals. And all I can tell folks is, if they've not followed BCO, Jake and those guys over there with their pattern testing series, and Jake will be back with us hunting down with us this year too, Paul. But they go through how chokes and shells and loads and all that can really impact how a gun performs. But I want to throw credit to Zach Danks, our Kentucky Turkey coordinator. I was watching the Kentucky Field episode, and he was talking about 30 yards should be the known yardage for turkeys. And so as we look at these sub gauges, as we look at 12 gauges, and if you remember back in the day, it was the 10 gauge and the 3.5 inch shell. At some point in time, I don't really care if a turkey gun or a turkey shotgun shell can kill one at 75 yards. We know they can. We might, and I don't even want to waste a bunch of time talking about it. There are shells that can kill turkeys now at 75 yards with the right optics and the right shell and the right choke, and they can do it every time. But they were talking about how if you continue to hunt that way, you're going to continue to wound birds, and you should have things in an effective range. And it goes back to the North American model of conservation, and folks need to remember that we need to be given fair chase to the game. And I don't know if shooting turkeys, and there's going to be some people out there this is going to cause conflict on, but I don't know if shooting turkeys at 75 yards is fair chase. I don't know if we're using hunter ethics in that. And so I want to compliment Zach Danks and how he had the character in him to say that on the most recent Kentucky Afield episode, that we should all be trying to get those turkeys not too close and not too far, and 30 yards is the optimum range to harvest a bird, because lead, TSS, 410, 20 gauge, 12 gauge, 10 gauge, we all know that if we take the time to pattern our guns, whether we're shooting an optic or we're shooting a scope or we're just shooting a bead, that's an effective range where it's kind of a no questions asked, money guaranteed, ethical shot on a bird that deserves all the credit in the world.
Yeah, I've always had a hard, fast rule for myself that, I want turkeys to be within that 30, 35 yards or in range. I just feel like that is going to offer me the best chance to harvest a bird, but I also feel like that I'm more accurate in that range, and I just don't want to take a chance with the bird being out that far and not having the opportunity to make that good ethical shot on the turkey. So, but you talked about lead, the 12 gauge that I always used to shoot, that's what I always shot, was the lead. So I agree with you. Due to the prices of that, I do think lead is gonna come back in that category, because if anything else, just because of the reduced price versus the TSS. I mean, my 410 shells that I ordered for my gun, literally what I ordered 3 boxes for then, is like, you can't even touch it. They pretty much doubled in price, and there's no way I could afford to buy those 3 boxes today, or at least I wouldn't. I bought 3 boxes of 410 and 3 boxes of 28 gauge, and today just those 3 boxes of 410s higher than it was for all 6 boxes, just a month or two ago.
Yep, and even the 410 loads, Winchester's made a really good load inside of 30 yards for the 410 to hunt turkeys with. Owner of Epic Ammo, Jason over there. You can call, Kinetic Gun Works and talk with Eric, the owner over at his shop. You can call Bryce Hensley at Foxtrot. All of these folks that are making ammo, custom ammo loaders. That's the other trend that I want to tell folks is find you somebody who's loading custom ammo, and make sure that somebody that you can pick up the phone and call. That way, if the components have changed, because a lot of your bigger manufacturers, they're going to continue to create a good product. Don't get me wrong, but if they can cut out this or that, or if supplies gets limited, they may have to change things up a little bit. And you're going to be more likely to get a hold of a Jason and Eric or a Bryce than you are to be able to call up at Federal or Winchester or somewhere like that and be able to talk to one of the engineers who's making the turkey loads. And folks need to realize is if we're big time turkey hunters, that's why folks are listening to this podcast right now. That's why we're talking. But turkey ammo is just a small drop in the bucket when it comes to self-defense rounds and trap and skeet loads and other type of ammunition that's out there. Turkey budgets for a lot of companies. Turkey hunting is a very short window, and it can be very profitable for them. But don't forget that the bigger companies make a lot more overall volume and margin of money on other game species other than turkeys. And so that's it. It's important anytime that you can get with somebody, and I'll brag on you, Paul. It's like buying a farm. It's like dealing with a great big huge real estate office versus dealing with a family run office. They all have their pros and cons, but I will always put more pros and more checks in the boxes that are for me as the consumer, working with a smaller company that has good customer service over the great big, branding marketing style. And as you move through this turkey shotgun patterning, choke, optics, scope error, whatever it is. Don't overlook, you know, Hawk, for example. They've got that Vantage turkey scope, and a lot of people kind of laugh about that thing. And I'm telling you, I've had a tremendous amount of range time with that optic on 2 different shotguns this spring. And I mean, you can see dust particles moving through the air when you're looking at it, and you still have a big field of view looking at your target at 40 yards away, trying to make sure that your left, right, up and down all your windage and all that is good. And I need that, because if there's anybody out there that's like me, I will tell you, at my age, I am battling every year to stay out of glasses. I do not want glasses. My eyes are not what they used to be. My ears are not what they used to be. But to be able to have that Vantage optic and put it up and to look at it and to be able to have that clarity, it's such a comforting and a rejoiceful, rewarding feeling, because my eyes have aged. And I'm telling you, I've dealt with these optics since I was in my late teens. I've been running everything from the Simmons Pro Diamond all the way to some of the most expensive Trigicon and all that for 30 plus years as a range instructor, as a shooter, as a hunter. This is an individual. Optics will fail. Okay. Optics will fail. Batteries will go dead. But with this Vantage, it's got an etched reticle. It's really clear. It's got a red dot, a green dot. If folks don't understand how to work with their stigmatism, sometimes red is better for you than green. Sometimes some optics are better than others. Sometimes people will look at an optic inside of a store under fluorescent lighting and not even realize that it may be blurred, or give you kind of that star galaxy look, where you, instead of having 1 dot, you're looking at 3 or 4 dots or a split dot. You got to get those things outside in natural light. You got to put trust in the process. You need to case your gun and unload it for travel, for safety reasons, nonetheless. But give credit where credit is due. Most shotguns, 10 gauge, 12 gauge, 28, 16, you name it, 410. Most shotguns today, I would say 9 out of every 10 shotguns, and I would go up to 9.5 or 9.8 if we could have a partial gun, but we can't. But 9 out of 10 shotguns, the point of aim and point of impact is not going to be good. They're not making guns anymore like our old 870s. They're not making guns anymore like the older Mossbergs, and I run them all. I've got a brand here, there, and everywhere that I can run and operate, that I've bought and that I test. And this point of aim, point of impact issue is huge. And a lot of shotgun companies are going to really need to start putting a guaranteed on their shotguns, where if a person puts their bead on the paper, it's hitting where they're aiming, because it's not just these tight chokes, and it's not just these good and developed turkey loads and innovations that's causing guns not to hit where you're aiming. A lot of these guns just aren't the fit and the finish and quality control. You're not having shotguns where you can point the bead down range at 20 yards or 40 yards anymore, and the bulk and the majority of your pattern is going where it needs to go. So do yourself a favor and stop guessing or holding over. Stop using all that Kentucky windage, and give yourself time to mount up an optic and use some lead. Get it on paper and spend some time on the range. You can always take it off and go back to the old way, but look at what's out there. That, like I said, that Hawk optic, that Vantage is probably, in my opinion, it's been out for a couple of years now. And I talk to them pretty regular with a lot of the testing and stuff I'm doing this spring. And I was talking to a gentleman over there, Cameron, who works for them, outstanding individual, has got a tremendous amount of knowledge. And you'll get to meet the gentleman that actually designed that Vantage scope in Indiana, Paul. And that is their number 4 selling scope of all their SKUs that they offer. So it may not be real common on YouTube yet, but they're selling a lot of them, and there's a reason for it. And Burris makes good optics, and And there's, Hollison's got good optics. Sig Sauer, I run a lot of Romeo 5s on guns. You got Picatinny rails. You've got Greg over there at Meadow Creek Mountain, and that's what I'm getting at is you can pick up the phone and you can get a hold of a Greg. You can pick up the phone and get a hold of an ammo manufacturer or builder, but take the time when you go to the NWTF convention, or take the time before you spend your hard-earned dollars. Before you just order it online, I'd suggest to you to dial the number or shoot them an email from the website and see what type of customer service you get from them, because that's going to be the big differences when it comes to really fine-tuning your turkey gun and making just a basic tool into an absolute object of destruction, whether you're building it for your niece, your nephew, your son, or your daughter, or you're building it for your aging grandfather.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like Greg, I want to throw a lot of compliments his way. You got me in touch with him and introduced him to me, and I've got to share camp with him a few times here and there. But, me with the unique situation that I've had, he's always took the time to work with me, help me, try to make sure that I get an optic and a mount that will accommodate the issues that I've got to overcome for turkey hunting and on my shotgun, and I really want to compliment them on how they've worked with me and what they do. They've been great to work with so far, for sure.
Yeah, and let's go back to these ammo people, because I shoot all of their stuff. Now, some of it I'm biased towards because I've spent time with it on the range. Some of it I like better than others, but I'll give you a prime example of the newest comer. That's how I'm going to pick this individual, the newest comer onto the scene of turkey ammunition and truly custom loaded turkey ammo. Epic Ammo. If you've not seen that little yellow and black box of destruction, of pure satisfaction that's being loaded and pressed in the state of Texas by Jason, I hope that you do. And it doesn't matter if you're watching Matt Tyree's videos or if you're watching these pattern videos on YouTube or whatever. Epic is coming on, and they're coming on strong. And I love it because here's why. I've got other great friends that they're custom ammo manufacturers, and they're not Epic Ammo. But every time that somebody gets better at developing a product, it makes the other people have to make something even that much better. That's part of being an American. We're always trying to make things better. But take the time to, like I said, to call Eric or to call Bryce or to call Jason at any of those companies, whether it's Epic or Foxtrot or Kinetic Gunworks or whoever it is, and say, I don't need to buy a whole box, but can you load me up 2 of this shell with number 9 shot? Can you load me up 2 of this shell with 8.5 shot? Can you load me up 2 of these with 8 shot? And hey, while you're at it, go ahead and load me up 2 that are a duplex with a 8.9 load or 8.5, 9.5 load. Or you figure out what you want loaded, and you take that ammunition to the range and you shoot it, and shoot it at a great big piece of paper to where you can see how that gun and that choke combination is working. And don't shoot it on a day that's got a big crosswind, and don't shoot it in a day where you've got, a point where you've got to be somewhere and you're rushed and in a hurry. But look at those patterns. There's science, there's machining, there's engineering in these turkey guns. And look at these chokes and constrictions. Some of them strip the wad. Some of them take and constrict the wad. Some of them take and have different wads that stay with the shot longer. Some of them have different types of loading. Some of them are folded. Some of them are rolled. Some of them have cork ends. Some of them have a shot card. Some have this buffer, that buffer. Some have this powder, that powder. And not all TSS is the same. Not all lead is the same. Okay. Like, for example, get off the lead, kick there that it wasn't as good as TSS for a while. We'll get back on the lead kick now that it's cheaper and it's still good. Up close, I don't like the Winchester longbeards. I don't. But at a distance, I absolutely love them. But overall, for my best turkey load and lead, man, I'll shoot Federal Grand Slams. And those old turkey thugs that they used to sell at Walmart in lead back years ago, I mean, I'd be traveling all up through Washington State and everywhere else and coming back to Kentucky. And I was shooting turkeys up in the Pacific Northwest all the way down the, public lands in Alabama. Lead does just fine. And not all lead is created equal either. And go back to the days and talk to somebody that's got some time in and on the range. And these Compton chokes and Kicks, Gobble, and Thunders and Indian Creek, and there's a lot of chokes out there that are better lead chokes than they ever were TSS chokes. And take the time to figure this stuff out and work with these loads and work with these loaders and figure out what you want. But once you find something that works, a turkey gun is an investment now. And you understand now that once you find a choke, and once you find an optic or a bead, or once you find a gun that shoots where you're aiming and you like it, we are in a point in time where you do need to stockpile ammunition. You do need to find out what your gun likes. And then if you need to have 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 rounds on hand, this is the time to do it. And Paul, at the beginning of this year, before we ever got on tonight to do this podcast, I sent you and about 30 of my closest friends an email. And there was prices on TSS that were close to $39.99 a box. That same ammo right now today is $89.99 a box. You know this, I know this, and other people know this. You need to realize a lot of your custom TSS builders have not increased their price because they're good people. They've gone up, but they've not gone up like just everyday retail. And call them up and see what they've got on hand, see what they've got as far as components, and you can still buy quite a bit of ammo. And the cost of this, the lead versus the TSS, this choke, that choke, optic versus scope, bead, whatever. When you look at this ammo, a 410, a 28 gauge, and even the 20 gauge are still pretty affordable for what you get, because what is it, like 24 or 26% of like Kentucky turkey hunters kill both birds in a season? I mean, most folks aren't traveling around the country harvesting and hunting turkeys in 10 plus states, harvesting 20 plus birds a year. So if you do have to put just a little bit more into a box of TSS or two, it's not like you're breaking the bank, and do the ethical thing. But don't overlook lead either. Like you figure out what you like, take ethical shots, take time to figure out your gun. That you were talking about gear. Like, what does a person need? What does the new hunter need to do? The experienced hunter and the old season hunter. We all need to stay on top of our guns. And I'm no better than anybody else. I build custom turkey guns for people. That's not a very well kept secret. Most folks have asked me over the years. I've built guns for people's kids. I've helped them from step by step, right there on the range, all the way to just building them, and they drive here and pick them up. But you've got to set these guns up, and you've got to test them, but you've got to keep them in check. I myself had 2 different guns that had issues this year, and maybe they got knocked around a little too hard traveling. Maybe they got knocked around in the gun case or something. But I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say it with every bit of honesty. Let's go to this rib mount. Let's talk about our buddy Greg again over at Meadow Creek Mounts. I've never had a rib mount come loose ever. Multiple shotguns. I'm talking 20 plus shotguns. I've never had a rib mount issue with Greg's mount. But I have had issues with some of these other competitors on their receiver mounts. And I'm telling you, Greg makes the best receiver mount. He does. And people are out there and they're competing, and there's competition, and there's marketing, and all of these things are there. So when folks take the time to share with you what's really working, figure out who's getting a paycheck and getting kickback for what I call product temping something, and then figure out the people that really have a resume and actually use this stuff in the field, and they're buying it with their own cash money out of their back pocket. And that's what you do and I do. And some products are just better than others, but sight your gun in. Don't go to the field this year and not test your red dot and not shoot a shell. Like, well, they're $14, $15 a shell. I hope that it's on. I ain't going to waste a shell. Do not do that. And when you go to the gun range and when you take the time to pattern your guns and you take the time to really sight them in, don't ever go to the gun range thinking that you're going to have just enough ammo to test it and everything's going to go okay and you're going to have just enough ammo left to go out and kill your one or two turkeys in your home state or maybe bounce over to your neighboring state. You need to make sure this time of year that you've got plenty of stuff on hand. When you go to the gun range, you need to have like a backup first aid kit. I'm talking anything could go wrong. And it could be that the product itself does not fail, Paul. It could be that you do something as simple as knock the shotgun off your tailgate. It could be something as simple as your kid takes off and didn't realize that your gun was rested against the golf cart, or maybe you set the gun somewhere where it wasn't supposed to and you bust something or you knock it off. And always, 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 for those of you that are shooting an optic or considering going to an optic, always in your turkey vest, in your chest rig, whatever it is that you have, always have the wrenches and the tools that you would need to take that stuff off if you were to ever have some type of catastrophic incident with your gear in the field during your flight, dropping it out of your truck. Maybe there is something, water, a seal or something goes wrong. But be able to strip that gun down to where you wouldn't have to go back to the truck and give up your hunt for the day or give up your hunt for the week. Always be able to use that shotgun with what came with it. And that's the natural sights, the bead, the adjustable fiber optics, whatever it is. Don't ever, ever not know where that gun shoots the way that it can operate without an optic as well. That's just it, man. It's the old Boy Scout way. Be prepared.
Yeah, well, that's great advice. I 100% agree with you. So let's shift gears a little bit, and let's kind of talk public ground a little bit and this and that. Just like a few years ago when we was at turkey camp, you and me, we ended up tent camping. And so a lot of people that are, they don't have properties to hunt. So they've got to hunt public ground. And, when you go, having the ability to camp out or have a camper or something like that to stay in so you can extend your hunt. Tell me some of the things that I know you've went out camping several times on your hunts. Tell me some of the tents or the camper type deals that make you more mobile and that you enjoy using.
Well, I do it both on private and public land. A lot of times it's more on areas that I don't want to disturb other people or I want to protect areas. So if I find some birds on public property, a lot of times I'll stay there because if I'm able to set up camp there, I don't have to worry about making it back to be there first. Now, you need to check the hunting regulations. Buddy of mine, Chad Morris, over uh, the other day on a piece of public ground. I about gave it away. He was out scouting and he was telling me about it. And I was like, man, oh man, like you don't realize this, but you better double check to make sure that you can camp out there. I said, I know for a fact that at one point in time you couldn't. And he looked it up and he was like, yep, can't camp on it. So number one, just like going into another state or going into a new season, I don't care if it's frog gigging season or turkey season or whatever, it's your job and it's our responsibility as hunters to know the rules, the laws, and the regulations. And they change from one year to the next, and they change from one state to the other. And sometimes they can change from one WMA to the other, or even just county by county. Uh, I got you started. The best tent as far as just being fast and quick and absolutely best bang for the buck. And these folks don't pay you or me, but man, the Gazelle tents were, and they still are. I mean, they work like a hub style pop up blind. They've got a floor in them. I've traveled with my wife and my family all the way to the end of the United States and back multiple trips. And those things hold up in everything. But the Gazelle tents, they're fantastic. I mean, you can't beat them. They go up fast, they come down fast. You can set them up in the dark. A good sleeping pad. I'm a big believer that some of these self-inflating memory foam pads, even though you can get something as small as a softball that can serve as a good sleeping pad, most of us are going to be truck style camping or auto style camping whenever we're doing these hunts, and we're going to have coolers and everything else. So don't skimp on your sleeping pad. There's great sleeping bags out there if you're not limited on size of or room in the vehicle. Of course, I like a rectangular bag, but to cheat and tell on myself a little bit, I still like just a twin bed sheet, and I like a couple blankets and full size pillows inside the tent. I mean, there's no reason with a modern automobile and solar power and everything else that's out there not to have some type of nice air mattress, memory foam setup. I mean, your sleep is everything on these hunts. If you go into a hunt exhausted from the drive, your nutrition's bad, your hydration's bad, your sleep is bad, your performance is going to be bad, and your success on the hunt, if that's filling tags or taking it all in, it's going to deplete as well. So your sleeping is probably the most overlooked part of any species hunt. And that's at home, that's traveling on the road, that's private land and public ground. But your cooking setup is really important. Try to utilize products like a jet bowl. Try to make sure that you've got a good nutritional plan. Understand where you can add peanuts or sardines or peanut butter or a really good cooler into your pack. Try to make the campfire part of camp and cook from it. Always have a way to get your water boiled or get your water filtered. Try to always have some type of small gear when you go to camp. I take an old pill bottle of just like a prescription pill bottle, and I'll peel the label off of it, and I'll put a couple tablets in that with laundry detergent and some dryer sheets. And I always keep a roll of quarters in my camping gear in my truck, just in case I've got to stop somewhere and use a laundry mat. That's a big part of camping. Then be smart. Use a hammock. Kind of give yourself a place where you can stretch out and do some things. And your gear should all be put together. It should be very organized. It should be very efficient, and try to utilize things that are going to give you not just the comforts of home, but they're going to give you comforts of the trip to where you actually enjoy doing it. If you need to get out of the rainy conditions and all that, most of the time when you turkey hunt, you're not necessarily putting yourself in a position where you got to sleep in a one-man tent where you're trying to hang on to the side of a mountain where you're 19 miles back up into the back country. A lot of times you're having to park at the end of a fire break road or a service road for the USDA or whatever WMA or property that you're on, and you can't block those roads. That goes back to the rules and regulations. But you can put those camps up too, and it the respectful hunter, when it comes to camping. And if you look at a 40,000 acre piece of public ground, you can run around like, trying to go here, trying to go there, but you can move too little, but you can also move too much. And when you put your camp down, try to put your camp down in a place where it gives you good access to multiple acres of land and have a base camp, but also be to the point to where if you need to pick up and move, that those comforts of home aren't going to take you that much time to get them loaded out and take them with you so that you can move and adapt. But and a few others know, I just went public about it yesterday. I'm going to be kind of in the Taj Mahal this year, Paul. My tents are going to collect a little bit of dust, and I'm pretty excited to tell you about why.
Yeah, I seen kind of a little bit of what you had in your truck, and it'd definitely be a whole lot more comfortable than than in the Gazelle tent, that's for sure. But it's I will agree with you on the Gazelle tent, because if you show up late at night, heck, you can just pop that thing up and throw your stuff in there real quick, and you can just worry about staking it up in the morning. You know, less than 90 seconds, you can have everything in there set up and ready to go. So that is one thing about the Gazelle tent that I love, and it's got tons of headroom
and
too.
and they're dry. The Gazelle, the G4, whether it's the Overland edition or the original one, man, you can stand up in that Joker. You can get dressed. They're watertight. Can't say enough about them. It's going to set you back about probably $450 if you catch one on sale, maybe half that. But let's face it. Let's just say that we're going to go somewhere and we're going to do some camping. Most places now, your campsites are going to run you anywhere from free, which that's going to be just basic dispersed camping. Sometimes you may have to have a permit or whatever. Sometimes you can get a $5, $10, $8 campsite with no electric or no water or whatever. And then you can get into the point where you're actually camping in campgrounds and shoot everybody straight. Camping ain't cheap anymore when you go into the campground. It can be 40, 50, 60, $70 a night. And some of these sites, if you don't have them reserved, they don't care if you've got an RV or you got a tent. Some of them are premium spots. And so if a person will invest, let's just throw $5,000 out there. If a person will invest $5,000 in camping gear, it doesn't matter if it's like one of these Freedom campers that I've put in the back of my truck now, or if it's the Gazelle tent, or if it's some $25 tent we bought at a yard sale that was barely used. It doesn't take long, with most hotel rooms being $150, to start paying for this over your hunting career. And I'm a big believer that when you're smelling the air and your feet are touching the ground and you're cooking at camp and you're crawling into your sleeping quarters and you get all your gear ready, whether it's something more modern like I've got now or the years of tents or canvas or whatever it is, those are some of the best memories and the best senses that you have of a hunt. And it's some of the most rewarding parts of the hunt, because I truly do believe, that where you camp and how you camp makes as much of the hunt as what shotgun or call or camouflage you wear. I enjoy camping. I'm passionate about it. You can share camp with multiple people. You can do it by yourself. You can take people with you, your family members who may not even hunt. They just may enjoy being there at camp. There's just tremendous diversity and a multitude of ways in which camping can make your hunting trip just an overall better experience. But um, this Freedom camper, I got to drive and all the way across the state of Missouri, and I got to meet Jason and all of the crew over there. And people are probably familiar with Redneck Hunting Blinds. Jason and that whole team of people at Redneck, I'm telling you, hands down, going back to this customer service topic, I told them what I needed, how I hunted, how I go about chasing the 49, and the amount of time that I've got to do it, what states I'm going to. And it was just, and I had this conversation with him at the National Wild Turkey Federation at their booth, looking at their campers, and he kind of put together a couple of ideas. And Paul, I come in from the NWTF convention on Sunday, and it was no later than Tuesday, but it was either Monday or Tuesday after the convention, and he had put together, hey, look, this is some solar options we have. This is a rack that we have. He listened to what I needed, and he told me what was going on. He told me which dealer would be close to me to go to. And after talking to him, I said, Jason, I would like to actually come and tour the facility and tour a Redneck. Like, I'm willing to drive, the distance. And and just, paying them and have it installed there at the place that actually manufactures. There's two manufacturers, one in Pennsylvania, and then the one that I went to was in Lamar, Missouri. And he said, yeah, if you don't mind driving, come on. And I did. And Paul, those guys over there, they listened to everything that I had as far as my interest, and I I trusted them with the process of what they had as far as accessories and fabrication and building, and they made me the ultimate personalized camper to where when I get up and I make my little coffee and I do my coffee press on a French pot or French press or whatever, and I'm down in the woods or I'm up on a ridge hunting, when I come back, as long as my door's locked, I can just get into the truck. And if I got to drive 20 more miles or 1,200 more miles, my camp is right in the back of the truck with me. I don't have to tear anything down. I don't have to air anything out. I don't have to keep things arranged and organized. Like, it's just a mobile hotel. And it is crazy efficient. It is light. I haven't had to do anything to my vehicle suspension wise. I can manhandle the thing with me and one friend if I need to pull it in and out. And I am I'm ecstatic about how mobile, mobile hunting's big in the woods. I'm ecstatic of how mobile I can be. I needed this thing 20 years ago, but I mean, I can get off work, go home, load up a few small things I need, or be ready right after work and just hit the road running. And when I get back on Sunday, I don't have a bunch of stuff to unpack. I don't have a bunch of stuff to dry out. It's just all there. It's like it's a one-stop shop, man. And I'm excited to show it to you, and I'm excited to travel chasing turkeys in it because it's going to make me more efficient. I'm going to have more sleep, more energy. It's going to save me a tremendous amount of money. Nothing against the Airbnb and the hotel world or the campsite world, but let's just face it. If I can camp where there's no lights and look at the stars and put money in my back pocket, it's a win-win for me.
Well, as much as you travel hunting wise and other locations that where you travel just to study turkeys or, just like what you did, tour a different location that's in the outdoor hunting industry, I agree with you. Just the amount of money you're going to save on hotel rooms, even some of the campsites that you might have had to use before, wouldn't be surprising to me if you ain't saving 1,500 to 2,000 a year. Just in your case, with the way you travel.
That and more. And the other part about it is, from the beginning of our conversation, it goes back that I'm getting better. I'm doing things better. I'm growing as an individual in my faith. I'm growing as an individual in my knowledge. But it goes back to, you're tweaking your gear and you're making things to where it's better than where it used to be. And the fact of the matter is that this progressing through age and being a family man and having a daughter and having a wife and having them with me and having friends and having the comfort and adaptability, all that stuff's important. I mean, we talked about the sub gauge shotguns. That's easier on an older man's shoulder. It's great for kids. It's great for great big guys because you don't have to punish yourself. But camping doesn't have to be everything gets wet. There's bugs everywhere. You're miserable cold. I mean, this thing's got heat. It's got air. I can charge all my batteries. I got a twin size bed in the back of it. I mean, it's luxury hunting. It is luxury backcountry hunting. It's not going to affect or impact my fuel mileage. It hasn't so far. It gives me lockable storage for my gear. It keeps it out of the weather. Uh, the only thing, and I told the guys this over at Redneck. I got back home and I did all my building on the inside. I started tweaking it, and they made me. They're It's such a good group of Christian men. I want people to know that. Like, I, it doesn't matter if it was Jason or Scott or any of those guys that were over there. They're just good people. Like, There was the business part of buying something happened. Okay, there was a transaction and a deal, but that was the smallest part of the trip. And just listening to them, same conversation we're having. Their grandkids are hunting, or their nieces or their nephews are hunting, or they're hunting with their sons, or the fishing trips that they take each year, like me and you sharing camp together. They get it. And these pieces of gear that we have, it's important that we take care of our feet, we take care of our body, we take care of our nutrition and our sleeping, and we make the hunt as enjoyable as it can be. Because as you progress through your hunting career, the biggest blessing that comes from it is that you start to appreciate the morel mushrooms, and you start to appreciate the fresh air and getting away from the rat race of the everyday grind of your weekly job. And you start to see where you're at in life. And some people are listening to this, or they're thinking about asking for a girl's hand and talking to her father for marriage. And some people are listening, they're fixing to be a father, or they're thinking about maybe buying their first house. And some people in here are dealing with a parent that's been diagnosed with cancer. Maybe they've got something that's gone on in their life that has been a major setback in their health, or they've started to realize that they're getting a little bit closer to retirement, or they got a bonus at work. And what I'm trying to tell through people's speakers and their AirPods, or however they're listening to this, Paul, is that hunting and being in the outdoors, when you have good gear, when you take your time to scout, when you understand how important habitat is and land management is, it makes for an enjoyable process that makes me and you lifetime sportsmen and outdoorsmen and women. Gear is not made to hashtag. In the social media world and the marketing world does not need to take over what you love to do. Go and grill some bratwurst on a state park grill with a bag of Kingsford charcoal or Royal Oak or whatever you want to do. Crack open a cold beer, make some sweet tea, put it in a jug and pack it up with you. Drink some water, read the Bible, do whatever you want to do. But keep yourself engaged in the outdoors. Keep yourself surrounded with good people. Keep yourself in good gear, and make sure that you're taking everything in, and realize it's just not about putting a tag around a turkey or counting a pellet on a piece of paper to see if your gun shoots a little bit better than your buddies. And it's not always about being better than the people that you're hunting with. Sometimes you need to be around better people. You don't have to be the best. It's okay to continue to learn. It's okay to understand that you need to grow as a man, or you need to grow as a parent, or you need to grow as an employee, or just a person walking in your faith. Like, take care of you, take care of your gear, buy good gear, plan your trips, do your work, build your family, and man, just enjoy life. Like, that's what it's all about. We started the show with, you know, talking about, Mossy Oak, and think about the heritage and the tradition and the loyalty that people have with such a great company. And think about what bottomland or greenleaf means to people, or hunting with grandpa's gun, not necessarily the newest gun. I've got, like I said, all these new guns to use and try. And my deceased father, I've got an 870 that I gave my dad that I'm gonna harvest a turkey with, hopefully this spring. And if I don't, Paul, I'm walking through the woods with a piece of wood and a piece of metal that my flesh and blood, my father, my dad, his eyes looked down that shotgun barrel and that bead. And I'm going to shoot shells that were in my dad's drawer at the house when we cleaned out that room after he passed away. I'm not using the best turkey loads. I'm using some of my dad's shells. And, I've got this nice modern camper, and I've got some things in there that my mom made me when I was a kid in college. And, that's a pillow. Just take it all in. Um, don't let people tell you that hunting is ruined and that the price of land is too high and you can't afford it. Just keep busting your butt and work and save your money and have a goal and have faith in the process. And by all means, please keep America strong. Keep families strong. Don't let your hunting and your fishing and your spending destroy your family. Keep your family together. That keeping that health and organization in your life and with your gear is what is going to make America continue to do good. It's going to be what keeps us strong as a country. And it's going to allow us to have the energy and the longevity to continue to do what we love to do for one more day.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more and couldn't have said it any better. One of the things, and you and me have talked about this several times, the important things to me, I live a busy lifestyle, involved in a lot of organizations, doing a lot of coaching, obviously with business. So your time is limited. But to me, being in the outdoors and hunting, that's a place for me to decompress, to relax, to enjoy the land. Just like you said, you're sitting there and you hear a turkey and you think, you just get excited about it. And then deer hunting, just seeing the animal come by, to me, it's so relaxing. I feel accomplished even if I don't get to harvest, I just feel accomplished being able to see the animal that I was after to be in front of me. And, it's a great opportunity to network with people. Just all the hunting camps that I go to, you get to meet somebody that's in a different state, or you get to meet somebody that's in a different part of the outdoor industry and learn what they do. And you get to build relationship with these people that are like-minded. And, that to me, that's one of the best things in the world. And I've got to meet a whole lot of great people that way. And I can't say, anything else, but I'm so blessed to have that. I've got to meet people such as yourself. You and me didn't know each other. We got introduced through some mutual friends of ours. And since then, I've worked with you to help sponsor events that you do to help kids and to promote the outdoor industry. You've introduced me to a lot of great people, and we've got to enjoy camps together. And to me, that's what it's all about. Have fun, relax, network. And I agree with you 100%. Family is everything. Take the time to spend time with your kids. Take the time to be with your wife. Enjoy things as a family and just enjoy life. 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and on days that maybe the weather's not just right, if a person wants to get out there and they want to hunt in the rain, if they're that driven, let them do it. If another person wants to go and meet up for breakfast at 10 o'clock and you think that's the worst time to meet and that's when the birds are going to break off their hens or get lonely, well, you stay if you want to stay till 10 o'clock. But if another person kind of has their style and their way of hunting, just respect it and realize that's what makes us all different and it's what makes us all individuals. But I'm gonna I'm gonna close on this as far as the reminisce of what hunting is to me. And hunting to me on a very personal level was was something that I had planned out. And it doesn't matter if we're cutting holes in timber, if we're dropping trees to have a pocket to put mallards in our laps for a really good flooded green timber hunt. It doesn't matter if it's growing what you consider a trophy deer or putting down a doe to feed. people at a table. Doesn't matter if it's how you plan to kill a big old strutting gobbler coming down a hardwood ridge with, you know, leaves coming out the size of a squirrel's ear. If you remember those old Nightingale videos when Harold and David talked about when the dogwoods are blooming, the turkeys are gobbling. You can't plan life. I don't have 5 years from now to go hunt with my dad. I don't have in 2 years I'm going to be retired and be able to go fish with my mom and catch another mess of bluegill. Don't put off these trips. The trip that me and you have planned, Paul, when we go hunt this spring, we may get a little cranky if the wind's up or the weather's not perfect. We may get upset with ourselves if our scope gets knocked off or our red dot gets knocked off or we miss or maybe the birds aren't gobbling good. But Paul, you're a friend, you're a brother to me. And if we don't take the time to do and plan these trips now, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So don't put off and don't make mistakes of thinking that you're going to go fish with your grandpa or you're going to go fish with your dad or you're going to go turkey hunt with your son. Or if it's in your gut to push 50 more yards further and get closer to that gobbler, and if it's in your gut that something's screaming at you that you just need to take your kid out of school and take them hunting or take them fishing, or if there's something aching at you where you've had a disturbance in your life with an old friend or a family member, or you used to hunt together and you've not talked in years because you were disgruntled at one another, man, break that silence, build those bonds, take those trips, and get out in a boat with your family members and your friends and get out on the water and get your line tight and let the rod bend and keep your fillet knife good and sharp and keep the oil hot and serve those meals of hush puppies and French fries and coleslaw and eat a little deer tenderloin and deep fry some turkey nuggets and do it with the people that are around you right now because they're not always going to be there. And value the lands that you have to hunt and fish on because they're not always guaranteed to be there. And engage with your landowners and don't just show up on opening day. And don't be a menace to them. Don't throw them a curveball. Don't trespass on people. Don't poach. Don't poach. And if you mess up, tell the game warden. Your character is everything. Your gear is the smallest part of the whole ticket. It's the least important chapter of the book. It's your character. Hunt with the characters that are in your life. Make sure that you know deep down inside, you know it's a pain. You know it's a struggle to get your kids up out of bed, to get them up early to go hunt. Well, go hunt with them in the afternoon, even if you know it's not as good a time to go. Take the extra time for your uncle or somebody that's disabled. It's a struggle. Take the extra time to go out and put them in the boat. And don't fish. Take them fishing. Put down your rod. Take their hook. Take off their fish. Call them up a turkey. Set in a ground blind. If you hate shooting turkeys over decoys in a ground blind, there may be an old man or a kid out there that would absolutely just enjoy spending time with you. Serve your community. Serve people. Build our hunting heritage and our culture and make memories that when the day that you can no longer do things on this side of the equator, on the woods surface and on the water surface, that people remember you for your acts and your character as an outdoorsman and what you meant to them in their life and how you shaped and modeled their life. People are not going to remember this pattern or that pattern. They're not going to remember this particular name of this red dot or this particular this or that brand, but they are going to remember you. And there's not an outdoorsman and a sportsman out there that doesn't remember them. We all had somebody impact our life. Give back, make the full circle of bringing somebody back into the sport and introducing it to them. I'm proud to call you a friend, Paul. I enjoy our time together at camp. I enjoy our time together on these podcasts or phone calls. And I hope that our 2 hours or whatever amount of time we've had can let everybody know that if they've got a little something in their life that's bothering them or stressing them out, that it's probably time to go to the woods.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight. We'll have you back on again here soon. Maybe we can do an end of the year recap of how turkey season went. But I appreciate you. I agree with you. I consider you a friend and a brother, and thank you for coming on.
Anytime. And for folks that are still here, go support Paul and all of the men and women over at the National Wild Turkey Federation, especially thanks to all the folks with the Kentucky State NWTF. I appreciate everything you've done for me over the years and supporting my projects. And I look forward to hopefully coming on and doing a podcast with you soon about how we're going to work with people who don't have mobility and getting some of our elders and our youth out into the field. But Paul, until next time, I'll see you and be safe, buddy.
All right, you too. Thank you.